I've turned on the recording for this session. Welcome, everyone. This is the official beginning to our session on accessibility and remote teaching. I'm very excited to have our colleagues from the Accessible Education Center with me today. They are the experts on how our students who have accommodations can best navigate our teaching and learning settings, and I would like to turn it over to them. We have Ignacia and Maria with us, and then Cindy will join us later as she's available. Ignacia, do you take it away from here?
I'll take it away. Hi,
Awesome.
everyone. My name is Ignacia. I'm the Associate Director for the AEC. And if you guys have been receiving messages about AEC's response to COVID, those emails have all been coming from my inbox most likely. So I'm the lady behind the address for AEC-info. I guess our response from AEC gets modified depending on the messaging from the president's office and the provost's office. So we're trying to align how we are supporting the students to be equal to how courses are being provided to students now. So that means that we are trying to provide the students the accommodations and give them as close as possible to the same experience that any other student in any of your classes are experiencing. Our office as well and across campus, we're all closed. We don't have any physical staff or location open. So all the support that we're doing is remote, but we are still available every day, Monday through Friday from 8 to 5 for both staff, students, and faculty, of course. Our last message that went out this week, it was a recap of a lot of the information that we have been gathering and concerns that have arisen from our shutting down of campus. So the first thing that I want to address is that there's concerns about Canvas and posting materials to Canvas. Canvas itself, the actual platform, is accessible. So as long as the materials you are posting are accessible materials, our students that have been prescribed some kind of assistive technology, they're able to continue to use that with Canvas. For example, if you're posting an article, if it's a Word document, you could highlight the text in it. That means that anything you could highlight, the student will be able to hear being read to them. But if you post a Word document and it uploads as an image to a student using a screen reader, what they see or what they hear is blank page, right? So just being mindful of the materials that are being uploaded, that they are accessible. On our website, we created a page for faculty and for our students with a lot of links to information. And one of them is accessible materials. And we try to clean it up as much as possible to provide you like the quick and dirty of how to check for accessibility, that your documents are being read right to students. That's the first step, right? The accessible stuff. Now, in terms of testing, this one's getting a little bit more creative as we go along because not all professors are providing assessment in the same ways. Everybody selected a way to migrate their curriculum onto Canvas or into the digital world, and everybody kind of did their own little thing. So we have been experiencing glitches and we've had to get creative with accommodations. But for those cases, whenever we hear from faculty or from students, we are able to partner and come up with a solution and a workaround if we need to. Luckily, the vast majority of faculty have just chosen to use all the features embedded in Canvas. So with that, all of our students have been successful at taking exams at home away from campus, just like everybody else. There's an added responsibility to the professors now to set up accommodations for students themselves. We've been providing the link of the tutorial for Canvas of how to provide the extended time. For right now, because we're not on campus and we're not using the My AEC portal to schedule exams going forward, especially for this finals exams, we have asked all students to contact their instructors directly and put in their request for finals directly with each instructor. And it's just more of confirming that the instructors are aware that the student is going to be using their accommodation. If you are providing an exam in a format that you don't feel you're able to provide the extended time, or you have concerns about a prescribed accommodation, we do ask that you contact us as soon as possible before your test, because we do have staff that trains our students on assistive technology, and we will be able to all partner together and come up with a solution for this particular case. Most of the time, the biggest, issue that we are experiencing is that the students have not set up their laptops with the right extensions, or they just don't know how to turn on features on their end. But Sarah, our assistive technology trainer, she's great. She's holding Zoom meetings with students, and she's walking them through the process to set up their equipment at home to be able to continue on their own. Additional concerns that have come up is testing, the times that tests are being held. Some faculty are making the decision to change their test from the university's pre-approved final time. If you choose that, we're not telling you not to, just be mindful that a lot of students are making arrangements for themselves to be in a space where they have access to reliable hardware and internet during the times that the university is telling them that their final is going to be. So if you are deviating from the university final schedule, you might encounter a student who is going to ask you for an alternative time because they aren't unable to make those arrangements for themselves at this late notice. Also, final schedules, we do encounter students that end up with finals back to back. And for those students, you will most likely receive a request to either, if it's the first class, to either start the test earlier so they could finish in time to start the second test later, or if you're the second class that they're making the request to, you are going to be asked to start the test later so they could finish the first one. Traditionally, when we're in person, what the AEC does is we give them a small break in between finals. So we'll give them anywhere between 20 to 30 minutes just to run to the bathroom, grab something to eat, grab a drink of water, and come right back and start their second final. So there's not a long delay in between, but because they're testing for a really long time, some students are testing for 4.5 hours at a time, giving them a small little break to kind of just stretch, get their mindset right. That's one of the reasons that you might be asked for a little bit of a delayed in the start time. Unfortunately, AEC does not have the equipment or the bandwidth to offer remote captioning. So if you are doing live proctoring with the respondents lockdown with the camera feature enabled, AEC won't be unable to provide extended proctoring beyond what you yourself can do. The concerns that we've heard from students to date have been that they don't have the equipment at home to do video monitoring. So if that's the case, I'm hoping that they have reached out.
I'm leaving my heel.
I'm so sorry.
Mom,
If it's any consolation, that's been going on over here too. And I believe there's at least one other person on this Zoom with a little human at their feet. So you're in good company.
As Ig was talking about Canvas, as it relates to captions, maybe I can step in for a minute. If anything that you plan to show on Canvas is going to be like a stream or a video or anything related to your test, it needs to be captioned and need to be captioned prior to posting it to Canvas. And that's where you would get a hold of Devin Wong, and he would be able to provide you that service so that you could then post it. It's getting real tight and really close. So if you have anything like that, I would suggest you contact him right away so that hopefully he can get it ready by the time finals start next week.
May I?
Okay, Ig, I'm sorry. I thought I'd step in a minute.
About that. Oh, sorry. I was just going to ask a question about that. It's that I would think would be a really time-consuming job for Mr. Wong, and I'm wondering how soon would you like us to start if we have materials for the fall?
Oh, for fall, yeah, as soon as possible. If you have the materials and you know that you will be posting these materials, the sooner you give it to Devin, the better, of course, because yes, it is time consuming. They're great and they expedite things very well, but you know, if they have a lot to do, then of course they can't. So the sooner you get that to Devin, the better for everybody concerned, yeah, if you're using Canvas. If you have live Zoom classes, then we, the AEC, would be able to do live real-time captioning. You would need to contact us and we would walk you through it. I have a staff captioner. She would give you a tutorial. She would explain everything that needs to be done. We would need a Zoom link and now speaking for fall, and then we would go ahead with, you would have a live captioner or a live interpreter, or now that we're doing online, we're doing both interpreting and captioning.
Could I ask I'm sorry. I used Google Meet a few times, and there's a captioning feature on Google Meet. Is there a reason why the university can't turn that on? You know, I tried to set up, I used it for a few weeks when I had difficulty with using Big Blue Button in Canvas. That I had trouble with my audio, and so I used that as a backup, and there was a captioning feature on it. And then I tried to use it this past week, and then it said that I had to have my system administrator turn it on. And I think it's free to institutions, so I'm just wondering if the university could turn that on for us.
I'm not familiar with that platform. A lot of times they have a captioning capability, but that only means that you could get captioning uploaded into it. It doesn't do it itself.
It was doing live captioning while I was speaking, and it was accurate. It was great.
Oh, Jennifer, I would actually recommend reaching out to a colleague in eCampus with that question.
Okay.
You could start with Jennifer Red, and
Okay.
then she may guide you to someone else, or you could actually just use the general eCampus email address.
Okay.
I know that whenever I'm in Google Hangouts with a colleague, I can turn captioning on and it's working fine, and it was working yesterday. So I think there may be some little quirk here that we just need to work out, but that is a possibility. It's not perfect. It's not always useful for everything, but it may be a good solution, and you could try reaching out to them and they can help answer that specific question of why it was working and now you're getting a different kind of message.
Well, I just couldn't even get on. It wasn't that the captioning wasn't working. It just was that I couldn't even log on.
Yeah, that's weird. I mean, and I think they should be able to talk you through that.
Okay, thank you.
So I had a similar question. When I've looked at the sound recordings for I teach with Zoom, it includes captioning. And so I'm trying to, what is the other kind of captioning that we would need besides the captioning that comes just as seems to come along with my sound, just the Zoom recording of my class?
Zoom doesn't have captioning capability on its own. Are you saying that you used something in Zoom that it did caption?
When I go to Zoom, I was surprised. I didn't think I'd hit anything, but when I went back to look at my Zoom recording that I get later, it had captioning on it.
My understanding is that Zoom provides a transcript, but
yeah,
not
it was a transcript.
captioning. Yeah.
Oh, right.
So that's an important distinction.
Oh, so maybe you could explain that, because right, there's a transcript of what was being said. Not, it
Well,
wasn't the chat.
a transcript is different. You,
Okay.
it does not provide effective communication for deaf and hard of hearing students. It is a fix when you have nothing else, but it is not recommended. So that's the difference. Zoom doesn't have captioning capability, but it does have transcription capability. So that's what that is. That's correct.
Okay, thank you. That clarifies.
Sure.
But in what cases, if I'm planning for the fall, I don't know what students are going to be in my class, and I assume you don't want everyone to ask for captioning. When is it that we would know or need captioning? Like at what point would
we will be sending out early notifications to those faculty who will have deaf and hard of hearing students in their classroom. And then once the semester, close to the semester, you'll be getting notification also from our database, our My AEC database, and it will give you all the details. We send you, we just send you an early notification of just the fact that there will be a deaf student in there, not all the details of all the different accommodations the student may get. That would come a little later when we're closer to the onset of the semester. But if you have questions when you get the early notification, you could always contact us and we'll be happy to give you that information.
It looks like we have a question from Rebecca in the chat about, if transcripts aren't preferred, what about podcasts for deaf and hard of hearing students? I wonder if you have any thoughts around that. How would a professor navigate creating or using a podcast with DHoH students?
Well, my understanding of podcasts, that maybe I'm not clear on what a podcast is, but that's audio. Is that correct?
Yes, it's audio, and I have traditionally just included the transcript with the audio, but I just heard you say transcripts are not a good fix.
They're not recommended. They're not effective communication. They're not meeting the student's need. So they're not getting the same information at the same time as the other students are. It's an after fact. So podcasts really don't work great with the deaf and hard of hearing for the fact it is audio. So that makes it very difficult. Now, can they be captioned? Probably not, because it's not video, it's not visual. So the student wouldn't be able to see the captions, whether it's, So I'm not real clear on podcasts, but I don't see how they can become accessible.
So if the course is asynchronous, so students don't have to listen to the podcast or read the transcript at the same time, could that work?
If it's asynchronous, then you would be posting the transcript.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. Right. That's all you can do with Canvas. We can't caption Canvas. There's no way to caption Canvas.
I see. Okay, so we can use podcasts if it's not asynchronous and it has a transcript. I guess I'm just trying to figure out when transcripts are okay and when they're not.
Well, with Canvas, I believe that would be the only way to do it with a podcast, yes. Mm-hmm.
So for anything that is live and synchronous, you need caption because the students have to be receiving the information real time, live captioning going on. Anything that's pre-recorded, then a transcript would be enough.
Correct.
Okay. So I see that Jill has a comment in the chat about, how will Zoom be captioned in the fall? That will really depend on if you have a DHoH student in your classes, in which case you would receive early notification from the AEC, and they would work on arranging live captioning with you. I haven't forgotten you, Maria Luisa. Would you like to go next?
Yes, thank you. I did make the jump to my computer. I'm sorry, I was driving when it started, so let me start my video. I don't have as fancy a background as the rest of you, but here I am. Hello. Hello, everyone. Thank you for setting this up. Thank you for setting this up, first of all. And Ignacia, it's a pleasure to meet you. I have been getting your messages. My student is visually impaired, and so I have made accommodations in class, but now with the jump to to Zoom teaching, what we did is we just started creating 2 videos, one with me enlarged, so that that's what the students see. They just see my feet, because this is a dance class. So we're focusing on footwork, and you can imagine the challenges alone with synchronization of music to footwork. And we're working through all that. We figured out that filming ahead of time via YouTube, which I caption on myself, and it's time consuming as anything. I think I'm going to be applying for an Oscar award or something when this is all over, because it is an incredible time commitment to transcribe everything that they're seeing my feet doing. And that's for everyone. That's just not for my student that's being accommodated. That's for everyone. But my question is regarding when I go into Zoom, I do get a message, and I've just kind of been jumping over it because I never realized that there was this capacity to caption somewhere. It says, when I check into my Zoom videos, Zoom accessibility, Zoom captioning, when scheduling large non-classroom answering needs in campus, eCampus at SJSUED. For assistance with captioning live Zoom sessions, contact the Accessible Education Center, and then the email address. So is there a way to do this? I will go to that email address and ask. I just didn't know that was something that could be done.
We would not be able to caption YouTube videos. Is that what you're asking?
The Zoom class.
The Zoom, yes, absolutely. If you have a Zoom class, I'm sorry, I missed some of what you said. It was kind of broken up. When you mentioned you do YouTube, that would be something that you're pre-recording and that you would send to Devin. For Zoom, yes, that's live. You would contact us if you have a deaf student in your class or hearing, hard of hearing. You would contact us and we would provide live captions.
Okay, and Devin, you're going to put his email address here, and are we going to get to see a video of this recorded meeting?
Sure, I can provide you with Devin's email. Absolutely, there it was.
Devin
Yes.
dropped it into the chat, and we are recording, and I thought what I would do is send the recording out to everyone who was registered for the session.
Thank you so
And then
much.
I'll circle back to Cindy and think about whether there are any other ways we might like to distribute the content here.
Thank you. I'll be quiet now. I need to hear what you have to share. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you.
So first of all, I'm just gonna follow up with what Maria said about early notification. So we manage all of accommodations with a portal called My AEC. We're only able to see 2 terms at the same time. So because we haven't wrapped up spring, we're still in spring and we could see summer. So the day after, or the week after finals wrap up and we're able to close down spring, we'll import all the fall information, and then that's when notifications will start going out. So it usually happens within the first 2 weeks of the summer that those early notifications are going to go out to faculty. Any questions? In terms of My AEC, one of the things that faculty may not be aware of is that there is a faculty portal for My AEC. The link is available on our main page. And when you log in, it's kind of a one-stop shop. It allows you to view all of your classes that you're currently teaching. It lets you know all of the students who have requested accommodations, what accommodations they have. You could fill out the testing contracts for future semesters in there. You can view note-taker requests, when those are assigned, and you could actually view the notes that are being posted for your class yourself. So if you haven't had the opportunity to log into My AEC, highly encourage you to do that. It's really intuitive, and if you have any issues with it, do not hesitate to reach out to us, and we'll definitely walk you through it if needed. So for the rest of this semester, in terms of finals, to recap, the students are going to be following up with each of you directly, hopefully at least 5 days prior to the test is scheduled, to confirm that they're going to be using their testing accommodations for this round of finals. If a student delays on their part and they don't give you that 5-day notice, we're still going to ask that you make an attempt to accommodate the student if possible. We understand that at times it's not going to work out depending on how the final is being arranged. But if possible, even if the student misses the deadline, to reach out. If you all can continue to work with the student, it would be greatly appreciated. If you have any concerns about any student request that is coming to you and they're trying to use the reason that, well, it's what AEC said, or it's because of my disability. If it's not in that faculty letter that you received at the beginning of the semester, please reach out to us. We could follow up with the student and have a completely different kind of conversation that you can, and we could help aid you in determining what's a reasonable accommodation and what's a request that's just coming to you like any other student would, trying to find a loophole in the way that you're setting up your classes. In terms of technical support, like Deanna said, the Center for Faculty Development is working with all faculty to help you guys develop your curriculum and hopefully migrate as smoothly as possible as you can online. The back end of it, the learning management systems that we're using and the software that we're using, I think of it as two areas. The first area is anything that's coming from eCampus. Canvas, Lockdown Browser, all those systems are not ones that AEC can control. We don't have access to the inner workings of them or setting up of anything in there. But we have a really good working relationship with Jennifer Red. And when we've encountered issues that overlap with what we can control, which is assistive technology, we've been able to find solutions for all issues that we've encountered up to date. So if you have a student that's reaching out to you and telling you, well, I use Natural Reader, for example, and I can't do your test, please refer that student to AEC, because it is possible. It has happened for many students. And it's just going to involve us working one-on-one with that student and set up. During finals week, AEC will continue to be available to the entire student population testing and faculty. We are going to be releasing 2 Zoom invites that are going to be managed by various AEC staff members. One to support faculty who may have last-minute requests coming at them in terms of confirmation of accommodations or how to set up accommodations for students. We're going to be available via the Zoom that we hope to be able to give you as close to live support as possible. But we are also going to be monitoring the main inboxes for both AEC and our testing inbox, AEC exams at sjsu.edu. And our staff's going to be readily available to kind of jump in and support you as best as we can.
And if I could please ask for fall semester, if you could please find a way to set up your Zoom links where they do not change every time you have a class. So one Zoom link for each class and ongoing. It is something that's capable. It is a capability, and it would help us greatly so we aren't constantly getting messages of a new Zoom link that has to get to our service provider. And sometimes it comes right before a class that might be at 7 o'clock at night. So if you could, that would be very helpful to us and to the students as well.
Would it be okay to change the password to prevent Zoom bombing?
I have to tell you, passwords have really, this whole Zoom bombing has really messed it up for us. Passwords, they don't always work. And then we have the same problem as when we get the Zoom link late, because then of course, it depends when we would get the password. If it's something you can get us early in the day, I don't think we would have a problem with that. You have to do what you have to do to prevent Zoom bombing, which is just the most ridiculous thing, but what can we do, right? So if that's the case, then you could if you could get us the password as early as possible in the day, that would be very helpful to us, so that we make sure that our service providers will have it when the class starts. Thank you.
Aggie, I think it can also be helpful as part of the initial conversations you have with students each term, to make Zoom bombing and privacy concerns a part of what counts as ethical communication in a classroom, what would form the basis of a conduct violation, that kind of thing. Because I would, in many cases, giving your students a password protected access to a stable Zoom link would not be an issue. The student for whom that's an invitation to, post it to 4chan or something, that student is going to need to have some involvement with our Office of Conduct and Ethical Development. And I think that's a different issue entirely. But I think it's worth having a frank conversation with students very early each term about what is appropriate and inappropriate to share with whom and how.
Thank you.
I've gotten around that Zoom bombing myself because I do have a student at home, my son, who is free at the hour that I'm teaching, and he has my roster. So he's my co-host, so he only lets in the people that are on the roster and anyone with a questionable name, because those names are questionable. When you see those Zoom bombers, you know, okay, that doesn't belong here. He'll just put them in a waiting room. That means just having another person available at that hour to help you, and that you can make your co-host. But that's how we've gotten around it.
I was going to ask if you rent him out.
He's taken his own classes, but yes, he's a wonderful assistant for me. Thank you.
That's really nice.
Does anyone have other questions? What other questions do you have? I know we have Cindy with us. Cindy, do you want to say hi?
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. It is a very big topic and we really, really appreciate it. As Iggy was just talking about finals, she and I this morning, it's been all morning, have been dealing with a situation that could arise, so I'll bring it to attention here. We have been learning from the students that faculty have been just, summarily changing the date of the final exam given the movement to online from the scheduled time frame. Now that affects the accommodations and that affects Maria giving the captioning, the live captioning tremendously, because we're not notified ahead of time. And this particular faculty member was extremely insistent on the student taking the exam at the time he newly scheduled it for, and the student had set up her accommodations, which one of them being a quiet environment, distraction reduced. She lives in a home with multiple people, and she scheduled according to the time of the original exam and was able to have that quiet in her house. So we are going back and forth with the faculty member on why, it's really important to work with those scheduled dates. And it's been a wonderful working relationship with the department chairs. So we really invite you to communicate with us, because usually things happen just because people are unaware. They're making decisions at work, for that moment in time. It's not intentional in a negative way, but please know we're here for you to consult. No questions too big, no questions too small. We would rather have that conversation here with you We're here for you as much as we are as a student. Deanna's heard me say this for many, many, many years. And we know that there's this idea out there that AEC is always gonna support the student, just be there for the student. Yes, we are. We're gonna be there for the student. We're gonna advocate correctly on behalf of the student and on behalf of the faculty member and the institution, because it's all of us working together on behalf of the students' learning. That's why we're here. So I think that's the really big message for us to make sure that you are welcome to reach out to us.
Yeah, could I add to that too, Sin? We really appreciate in the DHoH office, we really appreciate working with all of you. You've been great, and we know we've all been very stressed with this whole transition. We were just kind of thrown into all this technology that we were not familiar with, and everybody did such a great job, and it's been very difficult, but working together has made it a lot easier, and we thank you for that. That's been great. As regarding fall semester, it would be really great too if you do stick to an academic schedule. As Cindy was saying for finals, it's the same during the semester. With an academic schedule, it makes it easier for us, and it makes it easier for the students, because of course they have other classes, they have work, they have a lot of other things in their lives. So at least they know what their schedule is, and if changing the dates and the times makes it very difficult for all of us. I might not have someone available to cover that particular time, but if we have a schedule, we set it up and that person is available for the whole semester. So just if you could keep that in mind, we'd really appreciate it. But again, we appreciate all you do.
And the other thing that's interesting enough is that students are continuing to register with us now, and they can register up to the very last day of classes, which is Monday, and then have their accommodations in place for finals. So speaking to what Ignacia was saying with respect to that 5-day request, it may not always be available just because of when that student registered. But again, it has to be a reasonable request. Extending Canvas time for the test, that's not difficult to do. 5 minutes before the test, that's not reasonable. 10 minutes before the test, no. But if there's other in-depth accommodations like Maria's accommodations, or someone who's blind or visually impaired, we may have to reschedule that exam because those 5 days may be necessary to get their print material in an alternative media. That takes time. So it really, that's where you would want to consult with us if you feel you have some questions or concerns, and we're going to guide you. And we're, as Ignacia said, we can talk to the student in a total different manner than you can and explain it to them. And it's best if we do it and you don't do that. It's a better safeguard that way.
That's great. Does anyone have any other questions for our colleagues from the AEC?
I think I'm a little concerned because I'm getting ready to plan my fall semester, and I want to try out a few new ideas to engage the class online. And I want to make sure that I don't do anything that's going to unintentionally exclude someone or make someone feel like they're not capable of doing something. Do you know what I'm saying? I want to try to be aware of meeting everyone's needs. So this is just my concern. So I'm trying to be aware, but I'm just.
So Jennifer, if I could just speak to that for a moment, because that's what a good instructor should be doing, right? Always being creative and being forward thinking on how to engage your students. And we in no way want to dampen that in any way. So one of the things if you're not familiar with the UDL principles, Universal Design for Learning, you may want to do some reading on that, because those principles are going to really assist you in educating your class in a great way that is going to reach and work for the majority of all students. Everybody has a different learning style, but you're going to capture most of your class and be able to engage them at the same time. if you're working with those UDL principles, for the most part, it's going to be accessible. The harder components will be where you need someone like Maria with the deaf and hard of hearing just to set up those captioners for you. And then someone working with the blind or visually impaired, which we will do, help you. The AEC will definitely help you. But I would say as you're thinking about creating your class for the fall, I would read on the UDL a little bit, and that will help you and make you feel more comfortable. And Colleen, you know, I just read your question. I don't have a book that I recommend. I'm constantly reading, because on UDL, as pedagogy changes and grows with technology and online learning, and even some in-class, you know, styles of pedagogy, UDL is growing with that as well. So if I come across one, I'll definitely share it with Deanna and she can get it out to someone. But those would be my recommendations for you, Jennifer. A good question.
I think I've done that in the classroom. I think it's just wrapping my head around doing this online.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is just that it feels like a new challenge. But thank you. I think it's a great suggestion. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I dropped into the chat a reminder that if you haven't already signed up for it, we have a Teach Online Summer Certificate program. And in that, we're really trying to teach you the online pedagogy and the design, really, but with an equity-minded framework, a UDL framework. And, you know, I hope that as we navigate this moment and we develop our kind of contingency planning skills and our kind of multimodal skills, we'll also really strengthen student success too. I don't think those have to be opposed to each other. I think we can achieve that. So anyway, last I checked, we were at about almost 500 applicants for that certificate program. And I'm very eager to see, you know, we can still take those applications up till the 18th. So we may get a few more too. Does anyone have, oh, go ahead.
Sorry. Is that online course available for GTAs who are graduating in the spring, or would it depend if they were to be hired on for fall?
That's a great question. We are trying right now to determine what supports we'll provide for TAs. And you and I can talk about that offline. But I know that there are a number of programs that have TAs that are trying to figure out what are the best ways to support the TAs. Is that via their supervisors? Is that through participation in this program? Is that, we've talked about hiring TAs also to serve as supports in the fall. So there's a whole bunch of things in the works right now. And I encourage you to stay tuned and I hope you'll always feel comfortable just sending me an email or catching up with me. It's a moving target right now.
Thank you.
I'd like to just add another thing. Sometimes faculty aren't aware of is that student behaviors in the classroom, whether it's online, whether it's in the face-to-face, or also email after email after email after email after email, ... keeps going. If you're not sure, please call us and talk with a counselor. If the student's registered with us, we're going to have access to the information to see if those behaviors are disability related or not. If they are, we can consult with you on our recommendations on how to work with that student. If they're not registered, we can also give you our opinions based on the information you've provided to us. But the really important thing for a faculty member to understand is that even if the behaviors that are disrupting the class and the classroom learning and or your instruction, okay, even if they're disability related, they're still not acceptable. They still go against the student code of conduct. Everybody, I'm sure, is familiar with the student code of conduct. So you can do a couple things. You can consult with us, which we're happy to talk with you about. You can also talk with the Center for, with Judicial Affairs, sorry, I was going to Deanna. with judicial affairs, with ethical development. You can have a private consultation with them and just talk with them and say confidentially, not share the student's name if you want, get their opinion, or you can share all the information. We have an excellent working relationship with judicial and student conduct. So we partner to help to teach the student about that behavior, why it's wrong, even if it's disability related. What can we do to manage that? Because if you're not managing that and it continues, there are a good chance that you're going to be held accountable for that through the process of student conduct. And they don't want to do that, right? Most students don't want to go through that process. But please know that is something you have a right as a faculty member to avail yourself to as well. As we get those questions often, especially now with the growing population of students on the spectrum attending San Jose State University.
Well, thank you very much, everyone. Do you have any other questions for our presenters today? As they've mentioned, it's not your last opportunity to ask, right? You know where to find them. You know where to find your colleagues in eCampus or in CFT. We may all be in various different locations, but we're all still, you know, you'll see me in this green chair for I don't know how long. So reach out to any of us at any time. Let me go ahead and I have turned